Welcome back to the Ocarina of Time 3D playthrough. This is a part about nothing! We're going to do a bunch of side quests, starting in Kakariko Village with the first bottle of the game.
The most important bottle too. This is actually pretty much the only item you get when you do an any % Ocarina of Time speedrun.
It seems like a bad thing to do for a speedrun, because a lot of it involves travelling around the entire village, and it seems like it'd be hard to sequence break that, but obviously you know more about this kind of thing than I do.
It is really difficult, but the thing you have to consider is that it's the easiest of all the bottles. You need a bottle, and this is actually a lot faster than going to Zora's Domain and getting that bottle. And yeah, the cuckoos, they're a pain in the ass, even to speedrunners. But they kind of have a route where it involves slashing them to herd them together. Like, it's literally cock wrangling.
Right, yeah, don't attack them too much, or they will come back in force.
Uh-oh, the Cuckoo Death Squad.
Now, most of this is just going to be us running around, so do you have any side topics you'd like to bring up in this most filler of parts?
Sure, why not? I did mention in a few seconds ago, any %. The thing about Ocarina of Time is that you can run it a bunch of different ways. I've already mentioned any %, and what that means is that you beat the game as quickly as possible, no restrictions, except no cheating. So you can't do crooked cartridge, you can't like use a Game Shark, you can't use any device. It's pretty much beat the game, have fun, and that, at the moment, is usually around 20 minutes for Ocarina of Time. Other than that, you have 100%, which is what you think it would be. You get all the gold Skulltulas, you get all the medallions, you get all the heart upgrades, anything that in your inventory that can get an upgrade, you gotta get it.
All collectibles, basically.
Pretty much. The only thing you don't get is you don't get the cow in the house, because that does absolutely nothing. And there's also a 37th piece of heart that you don't get. You only get the amount of heart pieces to equal a full inventory of hearts. So you have beat the game as quickly as possible and beat the game as quickly as possible with everything, and there's actually a middle ground category, and that's called MST, and that stands for Medallion Stones Trials, and that's pretty much the all dungeon category, because a lot of people are like, but it's not really a speedrun because you don't play the game. You gotta play the game and enjoy it. So that's what MST pretty much is. Yeah, you get all the stones, so you do all the dungeons, and then you just fight Ganon. So most people will see that as the all dungeon, or the true speedrun, I guess.
Yeah, ironic that you'd bring up MSTing, because that's kind of what we're doing now, although in our regard, MSTing refers to Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, a lot of people bring that up too, but it's its own little category. And there's a new category that's recently been made that's called All Dungeons. Frankly, don't even bother with it. It's a category built completely out of drama. Pretty much there's one guy who's been dominating MST so badly that all the other Zelda speedrunners, throwing a hissy fit, decided, fine, we'll go make our own category. And you wanna know what happened? He went over and took the record from all of them. First time.
That's so boss.
And that category was all dungeons. It's MST, but you don't do the trials. In Ganon's Tower, it's all dungeons.
I hope you all are learning something from this, because MBM has painstakingly researched this shit.
Not so much painstakingly in the Ocarina of Time speedrun info. I enjoy watching them extensively.
You see that house there? That's the one with the cursed Skulltula family. We're not going to be going in there, at least for the time being.
But they're cursed. Have you no heart, Entom?
I'll show you heart when I burn the fucking house down.
Nice. Or squish it with a rock, because they're spiders.
Well, you need a pretty big rock, like the one from Twilight Princess, you know, the one that comes out of the volcano.
Oh, that part's pretty cool, because then Midna picks it up. So, that carpenter that was running by, there's 4 carpenters in this game, and really the only interesting thing about them is that in the German version of the game, they're named after the Beatles.
Really?
Yeah. But they fixed it in 3D, so who cares?
Yeah, they're extremely camp and they love to do carpentry, that's about all we have to say. So let's go get our first bottle.
It's so shiny and so broken.
Yeah, the bottles are actually pretty versatile. You can use it as a carrying device, which is good for me because I carry a fairy wherever I go, so if I fuck up, boom, I'm back to life. And I think you can also use the bottle like a normal item, like a sort of weapon.
Pretty much explaining that it's mostly used for reflective purposes because it's glass. You get it? What I find most interesting about the bottle is that it can actually fuck up with your inventory memory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier how there are ways that in order to beat this game and get the light arrows, you really only need to get the shadow and the spirit medallions because those are the only two your game checks.
Yeah.
There's a way that you can get those in your inventory because they're considered inventory items in the game without even setting foot in the dungeons. And it's something called Reverse Bottle Adventure. And it literally is an adventure.
I would play a game called Reverse Bottle Adventure. How I'd watch a movie called Reverse Bottle Adventure.
And all it pretty much is that you use a bottle, and what happens is you pretty much override certain items in your inventory with a bottle. And then you catch stuff with that duped bottle, like bugs, fish, fairies, whatever. And what happens is, in doing that, you fuck up with the inventory and overwrite certain things. So there's a sequence in which you'll catch a bug, dupe a bottle over your sticks, catch fairy in that or whatever. It's a long process, but eventually you can fuck with the game's memory where you can get in your inventory medallions. So you can get the shadow medallion, the spirit medallion, and even cooler, you can get songs in your inventory. Songs are considered inventory items.
I don't even understand how that would work. So, how was your first experience coming into the royal family tomb? Personally, it creeped the shit out of me.
It does. It's really creepy. And actually, I didn't get the song my first time ever playing. Like, I got it later on when I saw the Triforce there. The thing that really blew my mind was that Flat and Sharp are in this game.
Yeah. Oh, the composers from Majora's Mask.
Yeah, I thought they were from Majora's Mask. I thought they were original fan characters, but no. They're actually from Ocarina of Time. Their tombs are next to this main tomb. And they attack you at first, but if you defeat them, they start to tell you a story how they were trying to figure out what magical powers are inherited in the royal family. And when that didn't work out, they instead decided to find songs that could control time. One was working on a song to control the sun, and the other was trying to find a song to control the moon. And wouldn't you know it, teamwork came together, and you get the song that's hidden in this tomb.
Hells yeah. Now, I don't like Re-Deads, and I don't like the Style Charts, and I've got a little story of my own about that. Back in the day, and this was probably when I was around like 10 or so, I wasn't the most adventurous of children, especially when it came to like scary stuff in video games. So basically what happened, there was a point where you have to go back to the forest, and I think that'll be later in this part actually. Now time does not change in the forest, and I had gotten there just as the sun was setting. So I got the song, I went back out, and there were Star Childs there, so I ran back into the forest, and the time does not change in the forest. So I thought, oh, I'll try again, but no, there were skeletons there. So I put the game down and didn't play it for about 5 years, until eventually I ran all the way from the forest back to Kakariko Village and got the Sun Song, and that, as they say, is that.
That is amazing.
Amazingly pussified, I guess.
I guess. The only thing that really got me about the Re-Deads was the scream. Like, their design, I guess I just didn't have that big of an imagination, so I was like, I don't get it, they're just wrinkly people.
Yeah, the art design, at least in the N64 version, just made them seem like rotting corpses. Here, you have that, plus you can actually see elements of their original artwork in that they're wearing death masks, pretty much.
Yeah, their faces kind of look like coffins. But I will say that even though the Re-Deads are scary in this version, I much prefer the Wind Waker Voodoo Re-Deads.
Yeah, there's something really unsettling about those ones.
Because they actually look really dead. Just, I guess the gray skin adds to the decomposition.
Well, we won't be coming back to the graveyard until the Shadow Temple, so savour this, people.
It's so spooky.
One last thing to pick up from the graveyard, though, and you need to have the Sun Song and make it night for this to happen, or you could just like go out into the field and wait, I guess. You need to pull up one of the graves here, and you need it to be night, because if it's day, there'll be a kid that will like scream at you and won't let you pull the graves, and you'll see what we're going to get down here.
What a little jerk face. Also, you pass Dampe, he's the Gravekeeper, and he's actually the bane of Zelda speedrunning for Ocarina of Time. You can ask any Zelda speedrunner, and they will ask you, what's the worst part about Ocarina of Time? Dampe. But it's only for 100%, because like I said, you need to get all the heart pieces. That includes the grave digging heart piece that you have to pay Dampe, and he randomly digs up.
Ah, okay, I can see why that would fuck you over.
It's just amazing that this game has been fucked over so badly, like cutting it down to being beaten in 20 minutes, using bottles to override your inventory, yet they still they haven't found anything to skip Dampé's heart piece. I've seen runs where they're 10 minutes ahead of the world record, and then it takes Dampé about 20 tries for them to get the heart piece, and they can't do anything about it.
Now, you can get a shield from Hyrule Castletown for a reduced price, but why do that when you can get it for free, to be honest?
Also, this guy is sort of a jerk. Apparently, he's the son of the head carpenter, but that's really no excuse to be a little emo git.
But he seems a bit better in Majora's Mask, because he raises chickens.
Oh, it's such a good little quest, because he's all sad that he's not going to see his chickens grow up. It's like, dude, world's going to blow up. Chickens, least of your problems.
I've come a long way from being scared of these polygon skeletons, I think. Okay, now we're going to go to Lon Lon Ranch and learn one of the songs.
Because this is the side quest part, so gotta get everything that we can for now.
And once we actually have this song, we'll be able to utilise the Sheikah Stones and get fairies whenever we want them.
Which is good for you. It's a very nice backup in case you get your butt handed to you.
I like how you emphasised the you there, like you went on with your inferior speedrunning skills.
Hey, I don't care if you're not speedrunning this.
Yes, you do. You're secretly seething.
You don't see it right now, but I've gone halfway bald already in part 4 from pulling my hair out. The frames, man, they're just falling from the sky!
Now, you do need it to be day, so obviously, in these kind of situations, the Sun Song really does come in handy.
A lot of people will credit that it's so cool, this game has like one of the first internal clocks, but it was actually going to be a lot more intensive. It's all part of Ocarina of Time's really magical developmental story.
Well, lay it down on us, MBM.
It wouldn't be me in a commentary unless I tell you how a game came from an idea to a game. So, Ocarina of Time was originally going to be made for Nintendo's peripheral, the 64 Double D. Yeah, I know all you people think that Nintendo screwed the Double D. I know you kids all think that Nintendo screwed you over with an add-on to the 3DS and, oh no, this is the end of Nintendo, but trust me, they've been doing this for a long time. So, the 64 Double D was supposed to essentially attach to the bottom of the N64, and it had an internal clock. You use discs on it that were rewritable, it had internet connection, and you could edit images on it. It also ran discs which had double the capacity of the Nintendo 64 cartridges. So it allowed for extra content, the models were a lot cooler, and textures were more in detail. Nintendo made it because they were hoping to catch third-party developers, because they kind of screwed themselves over already with the cartridge thing when gaming was already entering the age of CDs where anyone could make games.
Which is why Square opted to put Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation instead of the N64.
Yeah, it's greater memory, and it's also easier instead of getting the license for a cartridge from the manufacturer. So, Ocarina of Time was meant to be the flagship title of the 64 Double D, kind of like how Mario 64 was for the main console. So, Mario 64 was to be the big game of the 64, and Ocarina of Time was supposed to be the big game for the Double D. Unfortunately, the 64 Double D came out in Japan, and it tanked. They sold nothing.
Well, it's basically just an expensive add-on that makes games a little bit prettier, I guess.
It was. What a lot of people didn't get was that it was going to make games... It was going to allow twice the memory to make games, but, you know, this is early on, so people are just wondering, what can I visually see? So that obviously wasn't a big selling point. So, Nintendo kept delaying Ocarina of Time because they were trying to make it for the 64 Double D. They wanted it to work. But, when the 64 Double D tanked, Nintendo had to pretty much pull everything together and instead transfer everything to a standard 64 cartridge, which is only 32 megabytes of memory. That's half of what a 64 Double D disc was going to be. Now, that's still the largest game Nintendo made at the time, but this probably explains like all these memory corruptions that I've just described. Is probably because they were counting on more space, and then they just all had to shuffle it in together at the last second.
Yeah, it seems a bit a slapdash way of programming, really.
The one side effect, and this is pretty latent, was because this game kept having to be redeveloped and kept being delayed, a lot of people would credit Ocarina of Time as being the game that invented pre-ordering. Because people wanted Ocarina of Time, and it kept being delayed for 4 years. So, video games were literally not sure if Nintendo was going to follow through and they were going to lose business just because of all the pre-order money they'd lose. So, Ocarina of Time was made on the 64 cartridge, and a lot of stuff was cut. So, after Ocarina of Time was redeveloped, Nintendo decided that they were going to create Uda Zelda, or another Zelda, to be an expansion pack that would be made for the Double D. Because even though it didn't sell, they figured, you know what, if people buy it, here's the add-on with all the shit that we wanted to give you, but couldn't give you in the first place. So all the stuff that was cut out for time or cartridge limit, you were going to get it on Uda Zelda. They were also going to add new areas, new items, new side quests, and dungeons were going to be rearranged. Essentially, Miyamoto said that you would play through original Ocarina of Time, and then you would play the expansion of Uda Zelda, and it would give you this, essentially your second quest.
So it sounds like you're kind of describing Master Quest in that regard.
Definitely. What happened was Master Quest came out for when you pre-ordered Wind Waker, you would get Master Quest, which was exactly like Ocarina of Time, but with rearranged dungeons, which were described as part of Uda Zelda. So a lot of people were wondering, is Master Quest Uda Zelda with all the other cool shit taken out? But Miyamoto has said, no, Master Quest is Master Quest. We didn't take anything out of it. It was just meant to be a rearranged dungeon.
Yeah, and I apologise that we're not actually discussing stuff as it comes up. I don't really like to interrupt MBM mid-flow, but basically what we're doing now is getting Saria's song, which we actually need to open up the next dungeon.
Plus, it's also nice to meet a friend after you've gotten a quest from the princess.
That is true, because Saria thought she was never going to see us again, and vice versa.
I mean, she said goodbye on a bridge, which it's an old Japanese superstition that if you say goodbye to someone on a bridge, it's meant to be like you're never going to see them again, so.
You see, it's a good job you know this shit, because I don't.
Yeah, so Master Quest was rearranged dungeons. But what about all the other shit that they were talking about? One cool thing that I like was they were going to add an expanded mask trading sequences, because, oh my god, there's masks in Ocarina of Time. I don't get why people don't know this, but there are. And what would happen is you would be able to make your own masks using the Game Boy camera and the image editing software on the 64 Double D.
That camera is so ghetto, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, but you can get Dancing Miyamoto if you hack it.
Yeah, I had the printer as well, so I was just printing out Pokédex entries and shit in Pokemon Yellow.
Another weird thing, this was something that they wanted to have in the original game, but took out, and then they were going to re-add in Uda Zelda, and it just shows some of the crap that Miyamoto really wants that I'm so thankful people just slapped him across the face and said no! He wanted every change in Hyrule that Link made to be permanent. Like, if you smashed a box, it would stay smashed. If you dug a hole, it would stay dug. He even wanted to leave permanent footprints in the sand.
That just sounds like a retarded waste of memory usage.
But he thought it would be so inclusive and it would draw you into the world of Hyrule. And it's like, no! We don't need this. It's stupid. Because
there's one thing to make a realistic world, but at the end of the day, you're playing a video game, and sometimes you just need health pickups, sometimes you just need rupees and whatnot, and when you limit like things that will produce those, you're just fucking yourself over in the end.
The other thing that they were going to add in Uda Zelda was there's a lot of crap in Ocarina of Time that doesn't make sense, aside from the absolute brokenness of it. I mean, there's stuff like a runner in Hyrule Field who you cannot beat even if you hack the game, set the timer to 0, he still says, whoops, beat you by a second.
The postman from Majora, basically.
Yeah. Apparently, because the 64 Double D has an internal clock, there may have been a mechanic introduced that would affect that to allow you to beat him. There's also areas, if you use a Game Shark, that you can access. There's a unicorn fountain, which it's just a fountain with statues of unicorns. And also there's pedestals all over Hyrule with ocarina symbols on them. And apparently these were going to be explained or expanded or actually used in Uda Zelda.
I see.
And aside of this, you're finding a Wolfos here, and you're using a really good tactic here. But little known fact, Wolfos actually have a weak spot. If you attack their tails, they die in one hit.
So that's why that happens, because I swear, and this is a bit of a spoiler for later on, I was in the ice cavern, or whatever the place is, getting the iron booze, and I ran in, I slashed the white wolfos once, this is the mini-boss at the end of the dungeon, and he died instantly, and I had no idea why, I just thought it was a glitch.
Nope. Tails are the weak spot.
Well, shit.
So, it's enough for Nintendo to have made Uda Zelda. It didn't get made, okay? It happens. Games don't get made, especially when the system it's planned for tanks financially. But Uda Zelda wasn't the only add-on they were trying to make. They were planning another add-on called Zelda Gaiden. Gaiden meaning a side quest. So this was going to be an additional quest, not in the same Hyrule, but was going to be played with the original Ocarina of Time. But that didn't work, because it was just going to be its own little quest. It was going to refine the graphics, it was going to refine some of the mechanics, and it was going to especially use the internal clock. When the 64 Double D didn't work, unlike Uda Zelda in disappearing from the face of the earth, Zelda Gaiden actually later on became Majora's Mask.
I was gonna say, with the internal clock and all.
So that just shows pretty much Zelda's early development and its post-development are the same story.
All I have to say, MBM, is thank you for researching that, because otherwise this part would have taken days to record.
No problem.
I love Saria's song, it's probably one of my favourite Ocarina tracks.
It's really good. It's really weird because the tone that it actually takes drives away from Western classical music. So it makes it sound medieval, which it's a trick of tone, but so genius.
Again, I just don't like the layout of the Ocarina on the 3DS. Any other topics you can bring up just to kill another 3 minutes or so?
Sure. I mean, like I said with Miyamoto coming up with bad ideas occasionally, I know, I'm committing video game blasphemy. You can send a mob my way later. Another one of their ideas when they were trying to downsize the memory was they were gonna structure Ocarina of Time similar to Super Mario 64, where Ganon's castle would actually be the only setting, and there would be a portal system similar to the paintings, and Link would teleport to the temples.
Yeah, that sounds stupid. I'm glad that idea got slapped down.
There's actually remains of it. There's a boss later on in this game that uses paintings.
Yeah, we'll be seeing him in this exact location, funnily enough, soon enough. No, I love this. I thought originally this only worked with Zelda's Lullaby, but no, Epona's song works just as well.
I didn't know about Epona's song. You have taught me something, and Tom. I've only known about the Zelda Lullaby.
Success! Okay, now we have 2 bottles. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 songs. I think we're doing pretty well so far.
Surely we'll be able to appease Zelda's quest and end the Dark Cloud.
And don't worry folks, there will be a dungeon next time, so it's not just all background information in this playthrough.
Yeah guys, I actually know more about this game other than how it was made. I played it, I swear!
Yes, he doesn't just read Wikipedia articles all day.
Who reads Wikipedia? I am Wikipedia.
He doesn't read it, he absorbs it and becomes it. Now, we've shown a few things, not really talked about it, but there is actually one thing coming up soon, which actually kind of leads into Majora's Mask. It's a story point. Do you want to discuss this, MBM, before it comes up?
Sure, it's pretty much the only side quest you should do. I don't care about all the other side quests. You can forget getting every other heart piece in this game. If you don't get this heart piece, you're a terrible person, you're wrong, you should stop playing Zelda.
That's a bit over-dramatic, don't you think? It's not the end of the world or anything.
Actually, it just makes Majora's Mask canon, which, come on, you're not going to make the best Zelda game on the 64 canon?
Yeah, well, I know a lot of people who would argue that fact, but whatever. This school kid here, he is the same school kid from Majora's Mask, and when we play this song, you're gonna see why. And this is why, at the end of Majora's Mask, he says you smell like the kid in the forest who played that song.
This is the only Skull Kid that you play this song for. You play other songs for other Skull Kids, but it's just a musical memorization game. This is the only one that you play specifically Staria's song, and hey, you get a heart piece for it. So why not?
Now, next time we're going to be travelling to Death Mountain again. But this time we're going to be going up the mountain trail and into Dodongo's Cavern, which is pretty cool. Some very nice lighting effects there. So we're going to end things early here. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening to MBM talk about pretty much the entire history of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. See you next time.